This is the ultimate upper level ISEE study guide coming from an 8th grader with these scores. And why should you believe me on this? Well, and not just because of my scores, also because I've literally been through hell and back with like test prepping. I'm starting SAT prep. I have started SAT prep. And I have been hell and back because my cousin did go to Harvard. My other cousin went to Carnegie Mellon. My mom went to the best university in Asia. And my uncle went to MIT. And my brother went to Rice. So I'm qualified because I have a lot of expectations and because of my testing. Before this video starts, please, I beg you to like and subscribe and to comment any questions you have or support for me, because I'm going to show all of them to my mom and she's going to be happy. Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about is where you actually test. This is important because there's three types of testing things. So first is like real life, like where you have a piece of paper, a little like this disgusting thing, and then an essay sheet. And then you have a Prometric Center, which is like on your laptop, but you're not with like fellow students. You might be with like people taking like the SAT maybe. And then a third option is at home. So yeah. So I've never taken an at-home test. I was going to, but they canceled. But I have taken both in person and Prometric. And please do not take in person. It is literally so much harder than a Prometric Center. And if you don't know, a Prometric Center is like a testing center with like where like you get like a little one of those PCs and you test there. But when you're freaking in person, you have to use this and an essay sheet. But in Prometric, it is so much better because with these, you can just like press on whatever answer you think is right on the thing, and like it'll press like next, and like if you flag a question, like you can review the flag questions at the end. And also this is literally the worst thing ever created, because let's say you're number 5, you're staring at number 5, you circle A, but what if you messed up on this answer sheet and you put D because you just messed up? Please do not take the test because of that. And another thing, your essay, you cannot erase anything from your essay because you're required to use pen on your essay. You know what this causes? Scratching off. You can't add anything to the middle of a passage, and it's just like bad. But with Prometric, again, you can just press multiple answers, and with your essay, there's backspace, and you can add things in the middle of a passage. And also, in the Prometric Center I tested in for like all of my tests, they had Grammarly on their laptops. So when I was writing my little essay, like they helped me with like spelling. So please go to a Prometric Center. They might be more expensive, but if you're taking an Isee and you're applying for private school, you should be able to afford it. And it's also easier, and it might save you another testing if you really like your scores. Okay, on to general things. We're going to start with a few disclaimers. Something you need to understand is your stand-in ranks, which means like, your 9, your 8, your 7, your 6, your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is not based on accuracy. That is not from a 1 to 100 scale. It's based on how much you get accurate, but in proportion to other people taking the test. So if you get a 90, you don't get an 8. You probably might even get a 9 because maybe that was a really hard little thing. So a lot of people got like 50s. So that would mean you would be probably a 9, because in proportion to others, you're in the 99th percentile. And also, another disclaimer I have is that I will not be talking about concepts in this video. I will just be talking about test strategies. So, yeah. On to some just general test strategies. I can not say this enough, but please check your questions. Please check your questions. I swear on my queen, Nicki Minaj. Look, this is a poster about her, and this is a poster about her. I swear on my queen, Nicki Minaj, that y'all do not check your questions, and that is why you're getting such bad scores. Because we are all human. We can make logical fallacies. We can think that 1 + 1 is 4 sometimes. Sometimes that just happens. And you please do not get a question wrong because you did that. Miss McGee, my math teacher for Algebra 1 last year, literally yelled at me for this like all the time. So I have learned my lesson. And honestly, this goes for like every test that you can take. So please check your questions. And to check your questions, this goes to my other thing of time management. Well, further in the video, I will talk about time management for each individual test section. But please have time management so that you won't feel stressed, and that also you can check your answers at the end of your testing section. Okay, so how do I start studying for the Isee, Victoria? Well, I can help you with that. What you need to do is buy Isee books off of Amazon. And if you really want to, get a tutor. But honestly, if you're a good self-studier or you're just motivated by yourself, get a few books, do it by yourself to save your parents money and to say you self-studied, because that makes you sound smarter. So I really recommend this book a lot because it has all the concepts that you need to know, and it gives you a lot of questions, and it categorizes what kinds of questions, so you can see how good you are and how bad you are at these certain parts of a section. And it also has 2 diagnostic tests, one for before you start studying and one after, to see how much you improved. Okay, on to verbal reasoning. I have to admit, I am not a verbal reasoning girl. My verbal reasoning score is not that good. My mom is mad at me for it. However, I can give you a few scores if you think a 7 is good enough for the high school you're applying to. And, a 7 isn't bad, right? Okay, starting with verbal reasoning, we're going to start with time management. The verbal reasoning section has 40 questions, and you have to finish in 20 minutes. And you might be a little scared, a little bit nervous. How can I finish 40 questions in 20 minutes? It's really easy. I probably finished every test in 10 minutes and just checked for the last 10 minutes. The first 20 is vocab. For the vocab, I'm really bad at that, because it is really hard for you to know what words will be on the test. I studied about a little more than 800 words, and 2 of them were on the test. They tested me on humdrum. What is humdrum? Just kidding, I know what humdrum is, but I didn't know then. I was literally looking at that and I'm what the heck is humdrum? And then the last 20 is much easier. It's is sentence completion, which is basically just saying my dog was blank like wagging his tail, like, and then there's gonna be like multiple choices, which one fits best. Just think logically in that. And honestly, you can finish that in 10 minutes. And just finish that in 10 minutes, and then you'll have the rest to kind of go over that. And to study for vocabulary, I honestly would not recommend studying full words. Study root words. Like root words like like colloquial, eloquent, they have LOQ. LOQ is basically like a root word for like speaking or like just talking. And so say I get colloquial. I have no idea what colloquial is. But, oh, look, in one of the multiple choice questions, they talk about like speaking. And I know LOQ is about speaking. So let me just choose that one. And it's probably the right one because you're using that kind of thinking. Another thing you should do is process of elimination. A lot of things that I have done wrong is that I second guessed, even though that's like the only good question there. So what I mean by that is like, let's say you have like a word and you know 3 of the 4 questions are wrong, but you don't know what the last question is. Like, I don't understand. Please just choose that question you don't know. Because if you know the first 3 are absolutely wrong, choose that fourth question because it is probably the right one. Because, yeah. Moving on to reading comprehension, you have 35 minutes to finish 36 questions, and you have 6 passages with 6 questions. So for every passage, I did 5 minutes for each passage. And make sure to mindfully read. Mindfully read each passage because being mindful is so important. Because one time, which is this one time that I got a 6, one time I like literally was just like skimming the words, and then I looked at the questions. I did not understand anything that happened in the passage, and I had to skim over it again. I still didn't understand. I skimmed over it again, and then at the last like 13 seconds, I had like 5 questions left. Please do not be like me, and please just read mindfully. Make sure all that knowledge that you're seeing on the page gets absorbed into your brain for like 5 minutes, and then you can let go of it. Sorry guys, my mom just came in. But so for like 1 to 2 minutes, just like mindfully read that little passage and then answer the questions, the 6 questions in like the 4 to 3 minutes that you have left. And then once you're done, you should be done at the 30-minute mark. And then at the last 5 minutes, just look back on your answers. Just kind of be like, oh, maybe I got that wrong. Just look over that. Make sure you look over it. Moving on to quantitative reasoning and mathematics achievement. I'm just going to congeal these two because, like, honestly, they're the same thing. It's just that quantitative reasoning is a little more fast-paced and mathematics is a little more concept-based. So for quantitative reasoning, you have 35 minutes to finish 37 questions. So you do have you're a little bit on a crunch. So I think it's pretty good to spend 30 seconds on each question. And if you do not know how to solve that question in like 5 seconds, flag it on your Promethean, write a star if you're doing it in real life, and just do another question. So what you really need to do, and then on your mathematics achievement, is it called mathematics achievement? I honestly don't know. let me look. Yeah, on your mathematics achievement, you have 40 minutes for 47 questions. So again, you're on a time crunch, but like some of the questions are super duper easy. They're like, what is like 1 plus 1? Or like one step based inequalities. So please just take 30 seconds for each of them. Maybe even less if it's like a really easy question. And just like, please time yourself. If you see that you are 16 minutes in and you have 10 questions left, and you have 10 questions like done, please fasten your speed. Please understand, I do not understand this question. Let's move on. So, how to study for these is just look onto one of these books, ask your tutor, and to just understand all the concepts. This is a great book because it tells you literally every single concept you need to know. And most of those concepts are not like, they're literally like super like not advanced. Like, I promise you, like in 6th grade I could do most of these, except there's like a few trigonometry questions, but like trigonometry is pretty easy if you can understand it. And I can make a video about trigonometry if you need help. Just comment down below. So again, I will keep reiterating it. Please keep check of your time. 5 seconds. Don't know the question? Skip. 30 seconds for each question. Just quicken up the speed so then at the end you can just leisurely check your questions, feel good about your answers, and not leave the testing room literally shaking in your boots. And on to the essay. I literally never studied for the essay. But I did get top 200 out of 34,000 essays in an essay competition. So I think I can speak a little tiny bit on essay writing in the Isee. So basically, I would take the first 5 minutes to plan a little structure of what you're going to say. So, of course, write your little thesis, just kind of think of it like an SAR. Just like, how many more sentences? Like 2 paragraphs longer. So for an SAR, you need to write an intro, a thesis, whatever. So you kind of have that, but just in a longer form. So for the introduction, of course, you're going to write your little introduction statement, sentence, and then you're going to write your thesis. And then I recommend writing 3 body paragraphs just to act like you're smart. So and make sure that you're thinking of implementation. You're thinking of, because a lot of essay prompts that I've seen is how do you do this in your community? Or how would you, my essay prompt was how can you help policymakers have a more accurate opinions about your community? So just think a lot about those kind of topics, because honestly, most of the topics in these books are literally what's the best thing about friendship, or if you could have a superpower, what would it be? But honestly, in the test, it literally asks you what would you do to solve world hunger? I actually don't know, please don't ask me, but just come up with something. You have to come up with something, hopefully in 5 minutes. And that is also why the Prometric Center is so good, is because you can type and you don't have to write, because for me, I type faster than I write, and for hopefully a lot of y'all, that's the same. So yeah. And comment any questions you have or things that I missed about, because honestly, this is kind of messy. But yeah, comment down below any questions you have, any concepts you're confused with, or just any tips on a specific aspect of Isee that I missed, and subscribe.